Fairmont Crest, a place where walls draped in luxury and ivy don't just hide wealth, but imprison deadly secrets. That night, when Kat and Tomas disappeared behind a closed door, it all seemed like a mistake, until Tomas was found wounded, his blood staining the silk beneath him. From that moment, a chain of schemes began to unfold, pulling unsuspecting souls like Smitty, Martin, Tyrell, and Haley into a storm of betrayal, ambition, and fear of exposure. In a world where trust is a weapon and love can be turned into a trap, who is truly in control of the game? Join us as we uncover the twisted layers of Beyond the Gates 2025, where every closed door hides a sin that has never been forgiven. The mansion at Fairmont Crest had never been so quiet. Behind the closed door where Kat and Tomas had vanished, no one knew what truly happened. Rumors spread quickly through the halls, each retelling twisting the truth into something darker. Only one fact remained undeniable: Tomas, the young attorney, was hurt. His blood had stained the silk tablecloth, a warning that anyone who stepped into Kat's world would pay the price. No one knew whether the injury came from a fight, an accident, or a calculated trap. But everyone sensed that night had buried more than just pride, it had blurred the line between love and betrayal. Kat left the room with a calm, chilling face, while Tomas disappeared into the hospital, leaving a silence that no one dared to break. The biggest question lingered: was it all a tragic mistake, or had Kat deliberately made him suffer for a sin only they both knew existed? Elsewhere, Smitty and Martin had finally found their way back to each other after months of turmoil. They believed happiness had returned, that love could mend what pride had shattered. Yet the peace they tried to rebuild became the very thing that exposed their weakness. In the soft light of late morning, Smitty tried to forget what he had seen. The anonymous messages on Martin's phone, the faint scent of a stranger that lingered in the house whenever he was away. He told himself the past was gone, that what mattered was the present. But suspicion burned quietly beneath the surface, a steady flame that refused to die. Martin, too, was no innocent. He knew Smitty no longer trusted him completely, and that knowledge ate away at his conscience. The fear of losing love had begun to twist him into someone he no longer recognized. They held each other close, yet between them existed an invisible wall built from half-truths and silence. They thought they had conquered fate, but what they didn't see was that it was the unspoken things, the secrets, they kept that would ultimately destroy them. Tyrell, their son, watched everything from the sidelines, his gaze heavy with weariness. He could see that his parents were trying, but what he feared most was the pretense. He hadn't yet found the courage to face his feelings for June, the woman who had once broken a part of his childhood. That feeling was both desire and guilt, a dangerous mix that tore at him every time he tried to imagine a future. One afternoon, a waitress offered him a few words about forgiveness and choice. Simple words, yet they shattered something deep inside him. Tyrell realized that love wasn't always something to be fixed, it was something that demanded pain as payment. He wondered if he could ever face June again, or if he would continue hiding behind silence like Martin and Smitty, trapped in the same endless loop of fear and longing. Meanwhile, Haley, who often lingered on the edges of other people's chaos, had started her own quiet search for information she hoped would give her an advantage. She collected details, listened closely, observed carefully. Every word, every glance, was a clue to her. But the deeper she went, the more she realized that the web of secrets at Fairmont Crest was far larger than she imagined. Each piece of truth she uncovered only revealed another layer of deceit. Haley began to see that everyone around her was wearing a mask. Kat, once a friend, now seemed like a woman teetering on the edge of power and destruction. Martin, who posed as honest and loyal, was involved in hidden meetings with someone from his past, and even Smitty, the man once seen as the symbol of devotion, was guarding a secret that changed him entirely. One night, Haley went to the hospital where Tomas was recovering. She didn't know why she was drawn there, perhaps it was the look in Kat's eyes that wouldn't leave her mind. The door to the hospital room was slightly ajar, the light spilling out like a blade of white across the floor. Tomas's face looked pale and lifeless, his body still. On the table beside him were scattered papers, contracts, financial records, and a photo of him with Kat at Fairmont Crest. Haley suddenly understood that the attack wasn't random. It was part of a larger design, a chain of events where love, money, and ambition were all weapons. As she left the hospital, she felt the presence of someone behind her. A reflection in the glass, a shadow, barely visible but undeniably real. Haley knew then that her pursuit of knowledge had made her a target. Somewhere in the darkness, another plot was forming, one that involved the very people she thought she could trust. Was Kat truly innocent, or was she orchestrating everything to conceal something far more ruthless? Could Smitty and Martin survive when their lies began to collide with truth? And Tyrell, torn between loyalty and forbidden desire, what choice would he make when the chaos finally erupted? Outside, a thick fog rolled over Fairmont Crest, swallowing the night whole. The silence was deceptive. It wasn't peace, but a pause before the next betrayal. Each person carried their own burden, but all were bound by one common fear: the truth. The fear of being exposed, of losing everything they had fought to protect, of seeing the life they built collapse under the weight of secrets. And somewhere, hidden in that darkness, someone was watching them all, pulling the strings, ensuring that when the sun rose, another soul would fall in the ruthless game for control over Fairmont Crest. No one knew what the next chapter would bring: salvation or destruction. But one thing was certain: the door that Kat and Tomas had closed that night had never truly been shut. As the lights of Fairmont Crest dim and the night swallows the last whispers of the day, nothing feels resolved. The wounds have not healed, the blood has not dried, and the truth remains buried beneath layers of denial and deceit. Tomas may still be breathing somewhere behind hospital walls, but the damage has already rippled far beyond that room. The moment his blood touched Kat's hands, the illusion of control shattered. Fairmont Crest is no longer a home, it is a chessboard, and every piece has started to move on its own. Smitty clings to the illusion of peace with Martin, yet both men feel the weight of unspoken guilt pressing against their hearts. The tender image of reconciliation they show to the world is beginning to crack, revealing the quiet resentment festering beneath. Every look between them hides a question neither dares to ask: what will survive when love finally turns into self-defense? Tyrell, trapped between youth and bitterness, senses the coming storm long before anyone else. The advice from the cafe waitress still echoes in his head: it's simple, gentle words about forgiveness, but they now sound like mockery in a place where no one dares to forgive. He knows his choices are running out. June's presence lingers like a shadow he cannot escape, and with every day that passes, his silence becomes a confession of its own. Somewhere inside, he feels that his life, his parents, and even his fragile moral compass are all tied to the same invisible hand manipulating everyone at Fairmont Crest. And then there is Haley. Her quiet investigation, once driven by curiosity and ambition, has turned into a dangerous obsession. The deeper she digs, the more she realizes that every truth she uncovers is tied to a lie someone else is desperate to protect. She knows now that Kat's connection to Tomas is far darker than anyone imagines, that the injury was no coincidence, and that the trail of evidence she found was never meant to be seen. Someone wanted her to find it. Someone is leading her deeper into the maze, watching every step she takes. Late at night, when she returns home, she sometimes finds her office window slightly open, though she never remembers leaving it that way. Once, she found a single sheet of paper slipped under her door, a photograph of Tomas, still in the hospital bed, with the words "You're next" scrawled in ink across the bottom. Since that night, Haley sleeps with the lights on, telling herself it's for comfort, though deep down she knows it's because she's already become part of the story she was trying to expose. Kat, meanwhile, remains an enigma at the center of it all. Her silence is her weapon. To some, she is a victim, to others, a manipulator. But beneath her calm surface lies a mind that calculates every move, every reaction, every weakness. The way she walks through Fairmont Crest, composed, untouchable, makes even her friends uneasy. They whisper that she's mourning Tomas, yet none can ignore the flicker of satisfaction in her eyes when his name is mentioned. Maybe she loved him. Maybe she destroyed him. Maybe both things are true. Either way, the night they spent behind that closed door changed everything. It marked the beginning of something much larger, something no one at Fairmont Crest is ready to confront. Now, as dawn begins to break over the sprawling estates, the community tries to carry on, pretending life has returned to normal. But the whispers won't stop. Someone saw Kat meeting a stranger near the gates before sunrise. Someone else claims Martin received a phone call from an unknown number and left without saying a word. And someone swears they heard crying in the garden that wasn't human at all. The air feels heavier, colder, as if the entire neighborhood is holding its breath, waiting for the next scandal, the next betrayal, the next fall. In the end, perhaps Fairmont Crest itself is the true villain, a place that feeds on secrecy, turning affection into leverage and loyalty into a curse. Every person who enters its gates leaves a part of themselves behind, traded away for power, safety, or love. The question now is how much more it will take before the walls themselves begin to crack. Who will break first? Kat, burdened by the truth she refuses to speak; Martin, haunted by his own weakness; Haley, haunted by the shadows she tried to follow; or Tyrell, too young to understand that innocence has no place here? As the screen fades to black, only one thought remains clear: nothing at Fairmont Crest ends quietly. Every secret uncovered births another, every choice made seals a new fate. And somewhere, in the silence between confession and collapse, someone is still watching, waiting for the perfect moment to open the next door.